is a lesson. Someone who is an expert at something gives advice to a group of students. So thank you for joining us today for this insightful session. But before we start, I would like to introduce our esteemed principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, who has been a constant pillar of support and guidance for all of us. Her constant encouragement has always motivated us to push our boundaries and achieve excellence. Also, I would like to welcome the backbone of MCOM committee, our vice principal in charge, Dr. Jasbir Sodhi, and I would also like to welcome the mastermind behind a successful series of masterclasses, the coordinator for MCOM, Dharti ma'am. Welcome, everyone.
Well, good evening, everybody. Is Pooja ma'am in?
No, she'll be joining in some time.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jiva Rocky. I, on the behalf of MCOM committee, will be introducing our guest for the evening. Today's speaker is a very special one because our speakers for the evening is a 24-year-old CA who graduated from SRCC, had an AIR rank in IPCC, cleared CA finals in her first attempt, and is a CFA level 3 candidate. From working to ABG to Delight, she has done it all. But there's another side to her that we don't know about. She's an artist at heart, an avid reader with a stellar book recommendation, a fitness enthusiastic, and her aesthetic food pics will make you wonder, is she secretly pursuing to be a professional chef? CA, consulting, yoga, and much more. Which makes you wonder, does she secretly have a few extra hours than us? HRites, here I present to you CA Bhumika Sankhla.
Thank you so much. That was quite a pleasing introduction, and I think the best one yet. So thank you so much, guys. And like you can see, I'm not very old from all of you. So no, ma'am, no, nothing. I'm Bhumika. You are students, and I love connecting with students because I know I have been there and I've been through all that anxiety all my life to upgrade your resume, appear for interviews, join societies, join this, blah, blah, blah. So I do understand the position that you are in right now. And it's not like I graduated like 5-6 years ago, but then I still have all the same interest, all those pop culture references. I'm still not very old. So thank you so much for joining. And the agenda of the session today will be mostly how to get into consulting is what I would like to discuss at length. How to clear case interviews, what are the career trajectories that you will face at the MBBs, things like that. And then I would personally like to discuss more on the Q&A section because I think if you have specific personal questions that you want to ask and you will not be able to get it answered from any other professional, I think I would rather focus more on that. So we will keep it a small presentation. We'll not give a lot of gyan, but we'll keep it interactive. If at any point you have any question, feel free to ask. After the presentation also, you can ask any other question that you have. All right, let's do it. Can you, who is handling the screen here? All right. So, hi everyone. Again, I'm Bhumika, and I recently got into BCG. I will tell you a small anecdote before we start. So, our BCG interview started from 8 in the morning, and it went till like 10:30 in the night. And usually, BCG interviews end in a single day. So, after the end of the day, you will be sure if you are in or if you are out. All right. And I will give you more insights throughout whatever happened throughout the day and everything. But so after the interview, they told us that, we are not sure about you guys because there has been a lot of candidates this time. So we are not sure. We'll take one more day. So the next day, this was on Friday, all right? And then they were like, we will set up a call on Sunday. On Sunday, they're telling us that, again, there were thousands of applications and barely like tens of students got selected in the last round. At 11 in the morning on a Sunday, they're telling us that, hey, you know what, we have taken your interviews, but we are still not sure. So we'll take probably 2-3 rounds more And those two, 3 rounds could be, we can ask you to build a model by sharing your screen, like right there in the interview. Or else it could be anything related to tax, because we were CA students. So they were like, we can ask you any tax questions, etc. And this went on for 20 minutes. And we were super scared. After the 20-minute period, somebody had the courage to ask कि कितने लोगों को लेना है आपको, because abhi bahut hi kam log bache. They were like, we'll take only 5-6, and there were like 18 people there, and 18 people out of thousands of applications and people who have gone through the process. And then we were quite disheartened, because we were like, what is happening? This is crazy amount of competition. And after all this discussion, this guy is like, hey, whatever I've said does not matter, you guys are all in. So that's the story of how we got in. And that was a moment of relief. We were all laughing at that point of time, because we were like, finally something would happen. So I don't know, like, I know that a lot of CA students might be on the call, but for people who are not from CA background, CA in itself is a big deal for all of us, because we go through years of articleship training, and then there's the mammoth, which is CA final. And in CA final, it legit tests you mentally, physically, emotionally, because you are just stuck to one room. So I was in this room studying the whole time. There's a swimming pool right outside my room. So upar se, I will always be seeing people swimming and chilling, and then I'll be like, why am I doing this? So this went on for months. So all of us understand how CA is. But then why I really liked the management consulting profile is because I consider myself as a generalist. And as a generalist, I like doing challenging things every day. I like doing different things every day. And that's the basic reason of why I got into management consulting. And this was a very thoughtful decision for sure. I will give you more insights on what consulting is and everything. So we'll move on. Next slide. Yeah. All right. So basically, the agenda of the meeting today will be giving you a 101 yarn on what consulting is, which many of you might already know, but we'll still go through that procedure. And then it will mostly be how you can upgrade your resume to maybe be more suited for a shortlist for management consulting companies. Then we will move on to case prep and interview procedure, whatever happened in my interview, like a personal insight. And then we will discuss on why a person like CA specifically should go into consulting, or why I chose to get into consulting. So that will be the agenda of the meeting. All right, let's move to the next slide. Okay, so consulting 101 is basically solving cases. So as a consultant, you will be problem solving all the time. So the approach to consulting is called the Macy Approach. What I mean by Macy is mutually exclusive, complete, like combine, जो भी combine करोगे उसके बाद it is exhaustive. So how do I place it better? Say if you have revenue, then revenue is a multiple of price, and then you have quantity. So price into quantity is like two different things. So that is the mutually exclusive part. And then combinedly, they are exhaustive, because there can be nothing else. Yeah, thank you. Collectively exhaustive. Thanks. Yeah, I was missing that word. But yeah, so basically, then with price and quantity, you have nothing else to discuss beyond this. So this is the basic Macy approach that we follow in all the cases. If you say apply it anywhere in your daily life, you can probably group things better in a very structured and very compartmentalized manner. So that's what consulting is. And I think I have never heard the word structure more in my life than I did during the buddy program. So the buddy program goes on for a month. And every time I had a case with my buddy, he was, at the end of every case, his feedback was like, dude, you need to structure better. Your structure is, there's barely no structure, and structure it better. Your structure was not good. A lot of people who got out of the process got the feedback that, hey, you know what, your communication was good, everything was good, but your structure wasn't good. So structure is everything that you will see in a consulting company. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right, so the W's of consulting is basically what, when, where. You have clients, those clients have problems, and you have to give them recommendations. So say there was a case where it was basically a farmland, and this farmland was facing a decline in profits. And then there was this other farmland which was right beside it, basically its competitor, and it wasn't facing the same issue. So the crux of the case, it is a very, very lengthy process on how you do it. But then the crux of the case was, in this case, this company, which had less profits, was basically doing less crop cycles than the other company. Crop cycle is basically how many times you sow the crop in a year. So these are small variables, but then it affects your company. It affects the variables that you work with on a financial statement. And this is how a consultant gets to a problem. So it has to be minute like that. Now, all these consulting companies specialize in very, very different projects. BCG has a lot of
I see.
city just went out, so I'm so sorry. Blame Mumbai. But yeah, so we were we were talking about how these problems are minute details of a lot of things. And yeah, so the problem statement of that farmland was just a crop cycle thing. So then the clients from BCG are a lot of government projects. So BCG did a lot of work with the Delhi government. So Delhi government launched a campaign on revising the whole curriculum of Delhi public schools, for that matter. Most of that work was done by BCG. So public sector is one thing. They also have clients from consumer. They now do a lot of work in digital and tech, which is something which is very exciting for our generation, because tech consulting is a very big thing right now. And then there are problems. So problems, again, when I will let you go through the frameworks and everything, there will be a lot of problems, but majorly it's around profitability, revenue, M&As, things like that. So my previous experience with ABG was in a strategy and business development role. That role was very similar to what consulting is, but then we were like an internal consultant to the group. So one of the cases that we solved was, KM Birla, right? And then his son is Ariman Birla, who's a cricketer, and now he's a businessman working with KM Birla. So he has a very new thing, which is the ABG New Ventures, which is the VC arm of ABG Group. So it only deals with new age businesses. One of those businesses is Popstar, which is an online pet store. So we were basically asked to build a 5-year strategy for that pet store. Now, how do you build such a strategy? For one, you will figure out what is the market size of pet care market in India. Then we benchmark it to US and other countries. That's the first step to knowing what is exactly the kind of market that we're dealing with. Then we do a lot of consumer interviews. So we had like 2 hours of calls with these consumers where they will tell us, my pet wakes up 7 in the morning and at 7 at the night, I will give him snacks. So we used to go to that kind of a detail. What is exactly the pet consuming all throughout? Then we do competitor benchmarking. So competitor benchmarking is basically something where you go through the website of the competitor. In India, the biggest competitor in pet care industry is right now Heads Up for Tails. So they have stores, they have their online thing. Heads Up for Tails ka, I think I spent 3 days just going through their website and noting down every product that they have and the price that they have and the kilograms of that product. So this is the kind of structuring that we do to understand what does the customer demand, what is the offering in the market. So this is competitor benchmarking. And then the fourth part is basically doing your own analysis of what would come in the industry after a while. So for that, we do a lot of expert calls. So in those expert calls, we basically talk to people who have worked in the industry for a while, and then we kind of judge how the industry is going to look like after 5 years, 10 years, and then how can we advance better. So things like that is the problems bit. And then the recommendation usually when you go through a case are short-term and long-term recommendations. So short-term, say if the revenue is declining, then you'll be like discount de do, package de do, things like that. In the long run, they will be like, introduce a new product. And then these companies also work for things like implementation, where you go to the client place and implement your own recommendation. So that's how the recommendation bit flows. This is basically the work of a consultant. I know there are a lot of YouTube videos online, life of a consultant karke. So I know it's hectic and I know it's busy, but yeah, this is basically the kind of work that a consultant does. So let's move to the next slide. Can you shift the slide? Yeah. All right. So this is actually a slide from the BCG presentation itself, and these career trajectories might differ at other MBBs, but this is the career trajectory for specifically CAs. If you are not a CA, maybe if you are hired after an MBA, then you will probably be hired at a senior associate level as well. So BCG is now hiring industrial trainees as well. So you join as an intern, then you move to the associate level, senior associate level, consultant, and then principal partner, MD, and partner. So this is most of the career trajectory. Again, in the starting, the years will be like after 2 years, you will getting a promotion, or else after 3 years. But then, of course, the years will increase after a while. So 3 years, 4 years, and then 5 years till you become the partner, everything. This is the basic career trajectory that happens if you plan to stay at a consulting firm for a longer period of time. Otherwise, I know a lot of people join only to get an exit opportunity, or else to get into an Ivy League, or else to get into one of the IIMs or the ISP. But if you stay longer, this is what you will become. Yeah. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right. So pros and cons is a very hot topic, honestly, because in most of the videos that you will see, especially on YouTube, would be longer working hours. A lot of people are ranting about it. And I agree, it's longer working hours. So that's the basic con that we have. Let's discuss the pros first. So we have industry diversity because we are working with n number of clients and problems and giving them n number of recommendations. So diversity is definitely there. So for a person who gets bored very easily, it's the best kind of job. And that's why I chose it. So that's there. And then there is global exposure. So they have a career immersion program, which is an offshore program. So after 18 months of being in the company, you will be given an opportunity where if there is a demand for any consultant from India for any project which is abroad, say in Singapore or any other country, they will consider you. And if there is a demand there, so you can go for that program. But 18 months is the minimum amount of period that you have to be in the company to probably get this opportunity. Then pros and cons, both. Role of a generalist. Like I mentioned, I am a generalist because I like doing different things. But then for someone who wants specialization in, say, only M&M, or say only modeling, or say only taxation issues, then this is probably not the right role for you, because it can be a pro, but it can be a con also. So you have to gauge yourself if you are well suited for this role. Then there are good exit opportunities. A lot of people after IIMs join MBBs only to get a exit opportunity in, say, a PE or a VC. So being into consulting is the best kind of role to get into touch with all the startup founders, entrepreneurs, all those PE and VC firms that you want. Then the best pro, of course, is it's good pay. Plus, it's a lot of good hotels that you'll be living in, good countries that you'll be traveling in. And of course, your Instagram is going to be lit because you will have a lot of food show to them. So yeah, that's there. The Instagrammable life is there. With the Instagrammable life comes all those working hours. So it may vary from 12 hours to 15 hours. So a typical week would look at 80 hours maybe. But yeah, it may vary with the project and the kind of team that you are in. Impact assessment is something that I faced in ABG also, because maybe because I was working as an intern, an industrial trainee, so I didn't know that. But once you have worked for a project, right? And if you don't see that project coming into picture, or how that project is going to be implemented, then you can't measure your impact. So whatever you're doing is basically doing all the cloud work, because you will be building models, but you don't know how it is implemented, or whatever design you recommended, whether they practiced it or not. So after a while, after you have been in the position for a while, you kind of start questioning yourself if your work even matters. So could be an issue. And role of a generalist I explained. Then depth of the problem is kind of related to being a generalist as well. And then there are decks. So when I was doing my articleship, most of the work I did was in Excel, and then I moved to Power. I just made decks all day. So you will give something to your senior, he will give the deck again to you after 2 hours and be like, start this from scratch. So whatever the work you did for 2 days, 3 days will not matter, because there are a lot of modifications, a lot of edits, and all this is very subjective, right? So after a point, you kind of start hating editing and decks and everything. But I love making this deck, so no complaint. Let's move to the next slide. All right. So next we will discuss resume building. Again, it's a very subjective topic. I will tell you what I know and whatever I had on my resume. But the basic structure is you need to have maybe 2 or 3 spikes on your resume. By spikes, I mean something outstanding. So BCG, when they hire, they will give you a specific format within which you will have to send your resume. So the format is general or tabular format, where your academics, then it will be your professional achievements, then it will be your extracurriculars, position of responsibility, and other details. This is the basic structure. Within each thing, so say if I had a rank in IPCC, that might be a hike in the academic qualification thing. Then there is professional experience. So if you have professional experience in, say, any of the big fours, then it's a brand name, and that therefore it's a hike. So this is the second hike. Then in third, extracurricular or in position of responsibility. Now, a lot of people do case competitions, but case competition is something which is done by a lot of people. So this is not something that differentiates you from others. And we will talk about the stats later. But then the point is, a spike has to be something that is not there in any of the resume. So for me, it was maybe handling my own website, building my own book clubs, things like that, which people generally don't. And then there are things like somebody was a founder of a startup, or somebody did a lot of international programs, somebody did a lot of research papers. So things like that has to be on your resume to give you that spike. Overall, it has to be a holistic profile. So a lot of rankers from CA did not get a shortlist because, again, if your only co-curricular is that you did some debates in school, it's not going to work out. I'm going to be honest there. Your school achievements does not matter after a while. So school happened like 10 years ago. So you need to build something after that. So it has to be holistic for sure. Let's move to the next slide. Can you move to the next slide? Yep. So this is the actual statistic that I was trying to keep a secret all this while. So in BCG, there were around 1,000 plus applications. They had 60 shortlists. So I had a shortlist from both BCG and Bain. In Bain, they specifically told us that there were 900 applications. They went through a series of 6 shortlists up till the last shortlist. And the last shortlist was of 40 people. In BCG, it was of 60 people. But in BCG, there were higher number of applications because they hire people from last attempt also. So my attempt was May 22. The last attempt was December. So they hire people from December as well. And that's why they had people who had some experience in working in other companies as also. So it was 60 people who appeared for the interview. Every round is eliminative. So say we had like three rounds, but after every round, they will eliminate people. At the end, we were only 18. So there were 18 people who got selected this time. And this was their highest hiring for CAs. So before this attempt, I think they hired 10 or 12. So this is the largest by far hiring that they have done. it's also because, so what they told us, I don't know if it was to please us or whatever, but they said that the quality of the candidates was so good that they couldn't say no. So that's what they said. But I'm not flagging it. But yeah, that's what happened. Now coming to the resume and the skills bit. So these are the skills that they look for. Now, how do you translate those skills in your resume? There has to be, say, position of responsibilities. So position of responsibility could be your clubs, your societies in college. If you're not from college, there are a million other opportunities. So say, if you are a CA student, there are a lot of CA organizations now who do a lot of mentorship things. So you could probably have a position there. There are things that are organized by ICI. There are national conferences, international conferences, Harvard conferences. So you could have people management there. There's a very important slide. You can probably take a picture if you want. But basically, you have to translate these skills on your resume. I will not discuss each and every skill because that will take a lot of time. But in essence, your spikes should come from any of these skills. If there are no spikes in your academics and professional section, then it should come either from any of these skills. So I know a person who did a lot of research papers. Some of his research papers got published also. And then he attended a lot of national conferences, international conferences. So this was a major part of his resume. So your resume could be a highlight of just research papers, or say a highlight of just financial things. So financial modeling courses, financial modeling projects, things like that. So overall, the idea is this. You can probably take a picture, or else if we can share the PPT, we'll share it later. For now, let's move to the next slide. Can you move the next slide? I'm so sorry, I look like a ghost because there's no electricity, but yeah. All right. So third part is case prep and interviews. Oh, thank God. All right. So third part is case prep and interviews. So usually what happens for CA specifically, if you have a on-campus recruitment, then it also might be a similar procedure. But for CA students, if we say qualify in May 22, our results will be out in say mid of July. After mid of July, you will have to apply to your BCG application. And then by the end of July, you will get a shortlist. So say if we got end of July shortlist, then they will give you 4 weeks to prepare. So that's the buddy program. But we allotted a buddy who will be working with BCG, of course. So in our case, it was just one buddy, but I've heard of cases where they give you 2 buddies. But usually it's the best that you discuss at least 2 cases with your buddy every week. That's like a good part because obviously they are also busy. Some of those buddies don't even contact you. Some of them, so I was very fortunate because my buddy was very good at conversing, honestly. So he did a decent amount of cases with me and he grilled me so much that I was able to perform better. So yeah, so that's the buddy program for 4 weeks. Interview, again, it's usually a 1-day procedure, but in our case, it was more than a day because they couldn't decide and everything. So that's the usual case. Let's move to the next slide. All right. Again, this is a very important slide because this is basically the kind of cases that you will be asked. In our case, we weren't asked a lot of guesstimates, but you can definitely expect guesstimates if, say, your interview ends up really early or a partner is really interested in for you to do guesstimates. Now, usually CA students are very thorough with profitability cases because financial statements is on our tips, right? So profitability is one case where you will be able to crack it very easily. And then there are market entry cases, and then there are market sizing cases. So basically, the case could be like some scientist has invented a train that can get you from Delhi to Mumbai in say 10 minutes. So how do you price the ticket of that train? There could be a case like that. Then there could be a case where somebody has invented an anti-smoking pill. And then how do you decide the market size of the product? So in this market sizing, you take the population of India, then you divide it between urban, rural, then you divide it between male smokers, female smokers. So things like that. So you do a lot of calculation in those percentages. That's the market sizing bit. Then there are unconventional cases. Like one of the most popular case I did with almost all my friends was your friend is unhappy and you have to figure out why. Just that is the case. And a lot of people assume that because it's your friend, he is probably working in some or the other corporate and his manager is basically killing him. So that's a lot of assumption that people have. But the case was that your friend is a member of a band and he plays jazz and he is not getting an award and hence he is unhappy. That was the case. But it takes a lot to figure out कि ऐसा भी हो सकता है. So unconventional cases are truly unconventional. Then there are pricing and growth cases. Pricing I mentioned, like anti-smoking pill or an anti-balding pill, things like that. Growth cases, again, could be very challenging, honestly, because it could be an M&A. It could be things where you want to grow business by 2x or numbers. In our case, we were not asked a lot of numbers during the case. A typical case when happens through a window of like 20 minutes or so, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं जाएगा. So they will not ask you to calculate a lot of percentages, but could be anything. All right, let's move to the next slide. Cool. So resources, once you get a shortlist, BCG will make a WhatsApp group and they share all the resources there. They have their own Google Drive folders. Most of the resources there are, again, resources which are available in public as well. So there are a lot of casebooks by IIMs, of course. Then there is a casebook by ISB. There are casebooks by SRCC itself. And one is the explain what are the cases that I was asked during my interview. The first case that I was asked was, your company is a banking services company. You have to increase your disbursements in the bank. How do you do that? That was the case. I had no idea about banking industry. This person had a 10-year banking industry experience. So at this point, a lot of knowledge that you read through business newsletters like the Ken or the Signal, or if you read any other newspaper like the Mint, Business Standard, whatever, a lot of industry insights that you get through all this reading bit helps you a lot during this cases. So I will not tell you how the case went by. The answer of the case was, he was asking me about buy now, pay later schemes, because now a lot of fintech companies are moving through that area. So the case was basically buy now, pay later, pay मेरा क्या view है. That was the case. यहाँ पे आपका common sense, your presence of mind, how confident you are during the interview will help a lot. So this happened. And then the second case, which was a very interesting case, by the way, was again, you are a IT services company and your gross margin is say 10%, your operating margin is say 8%, and you want to increase your operating margin by 2 percentage points. So before that, he wanted me to focus on labor cost and how to reduce labor cost. So in labor cost, if you start building the equation, there will be the number of labor that is working in the organization and then the amount of salary paid per labor. But then a very important factor in this equation is the efficiency rate. So if your labor is working very inefficiently, then your cost will be high, as simple as that. So this was the case in IT services company because they are paid coupon wise or how many requests that they solve. But the case was that this company was not giving training to their employees, and the other company, their competitor, was giving a 3-month training to their employees, and hence their cost was higher. So this was a very in-depth case, which fortunately I was able to crack. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone through the second round. But this was my second case. My third case was a very unconventional case, I would say. So if you are an investor and if you want to invest in say Swiggy or Zomato or Paytm or Nykaa, how would you go about it? Just that. So you had to list down a structure of what all factors that you will look forward to in such a case. So yeah, that was the cases. The point that I want to make here is all those explicit resources are there. Again, a lot of reading will not help, practicing will help. So practice as much as you can with your friends, with basically someone who knows how to read business case studies. That's all you need. You don't need a professional. The implicit cases, the implicit resources will help you in building that presence of mind when you are faced with something as new as buy now, pay later. So wahan pe your knowledge will matter a lot. So that's the point that I wanted to make. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right, so the D-Day is the interview day. So fortunately, we had our interviews online. So we could we could keep a notebook on the side. Again, please don't disclose this anywhere. Or even if you can, it's fine because they also know. But yeah, so we had our notebook side में कि ये structure है. अगर ये case पूछेंगे, then we have at least थोड़ा variables in our mind कि what all scenarios could be there. So profitability का structure could be your revenue and the cost. Then revenue में there will be things like a demand problem or a sales problem. Then demand mein there will be a consumer value chain that will be there. So things like that. You build the model yourself after you have read a few books. So that was the initial strategy, to have those structures ready. Don't follow any structure which is there in the book. Make your own structure once you have read enough, once you have practiced enough. That's number one. 4 layers of structure. So when I said that a lot of people were thrown out of the interview process only because they did not have structure. So consulting companies basically hate laundry listing. Laundry listing is when you will say revenue कम हो रहा है तो maybe हमने ज़्यादा discount दे दिया है, हमारा product अच्छा नहीं है, हमारा design अच्छा नहीं है, consumer को ये नहीं पसंद, वो नहीं पसंद. You can't keep saying things without any logic. You have to structure it. I think now you have heard the word structure enough, but bear me for some more time. So basically, the 4-layer structure that I'm talking about is, if it is a profitability case, all right, the first structure would be revenue and cost. That's the first layer. The second in revenue would be if it's a price issue or if it's a quantity issue. So that's the second layer. The third layer would be, say, if it's a quantity issue. Quantity mein supply mein problem hai, demand mein problem hai. That's the third layer. Demand mein kya problem hai? Consumer. So consumer ke liye there are things like accessibility, affordability, things like that. So yahan pe this is the fourth layer. And then after the fourth layer, if you do laundry listing, then it's fine because you have kind of identified the problem. Ki problem kis variable mein, all right? Before 4 layers or even 3 layers, if you start doing laundry listing, then you are out. So that's the second point. Third point is confidence. Please keep smiling. I know it's very anxious, and that's why I couldn't say the word Macy, because I was very anxious in the beginning, but now I feel fine. So your confidence is the key. You have to keep smiling, and like you also know कि अगर कुछ नहीं आ रहा है. So the first case, the banking वाला case, I know I didn't do very well because I couldn't understand where the problem is, because he was trying to frequently ask me कि think about digital, think about what are your views on buy now pay later, and I had no idea, but I kept asking questions, I kept clarifying things, and that's how we proceeded. But show some confidence, and whatever professional experience if you have, or articleship experience if you have, or internship experience if you have, in the beginning when they ask for your intro, kind of link it with the job that we're applying for. So if I have worked in strategy before, I explicitly told them that I have worked as an internal consultant to the group, things like that. These things stick to their mind. So make a good first impression. That will be your first and last impression anyway. So be confident. The fourth thing is business trivia. So I read this newsletter, business newsletter. It's called the KEN, K-E-N, which I think every commerce student should read. And I get paid promotion for doing this. I hope I did, but no. So I've been reading KEN for a long while now. The KEN, the K-E-N, KEN. So I'll tell you what the newsletter is. The newsletter gives you a daily short story on any business trivia. So say consumer tech में कुछ भी हो रहा है, या फिर fintech में कुछ भी हो रहा है. There are a lot of recommendations that they have in those newsletter bit also. So there's this one newsletter called the Kaching, which is basically about money and everything. Then there is industry related news like dukaan ka business niche kyun hai, things like that. So the can is something that everyone should read for sure. And then they have a long story format which they deliver every Saturday and or Sunday, whatever, the nut graph karke. And usme they will give you a long story of, say, abhi Adobe acquired Figma, so what's the deal behind that, what are the market impact, things like that. So I think definitely you should read the can. This business trivia thing helped me a lot in cracking my interview, because I was asked ki, if you are an investor, how would you go about investing in InShorts? And I had read one article on InShorts, और वो article में लिखा था कि Daily Hunt is their competitor. Daily Hunt is basically a news aggregator platform. So then I kind of related it with that, and then I said regional languages में InShorts is not too good, things like that, which is knowing about the business. So that's how I think I cracked the interview. Obviously, I don't know for sure, but that's what my hypothesis is. So yeah, read about businesses and read the newspaper for sure. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right, so CN Consulting, honestly, I will take up questions on this. So if you have any questions, just let me know on this part. But CN Consulting is basically, again, from my experience, I worked in audit for 2 years, which was statutory audit. And as depressing as it sounds, it was just Excel. It was a lot of manual work, a lot of documentation, not a lot of creativity. And hence I moved to industrial training because I was really bored of the work. And when I was there in ABG, I think I had the best experience of my life. We were taught how to build decks, how to not have a lot of words on your slides, and hence my slides are clean now. Otherwise, it used to be a lot of text. So there's this one rule, it's called the 6x4 rule, which is basically your slides should either have 6 bullet points of four words each, or else 4 bullet points of 6 words each. That's the kind of rules that they follow during a business presentation. So that's called a 6x4 rule. So I learned a lot, and I loved the diversity there because I worked on Popstar. That was one of the businesses. Then because I was interested in food, I also got a project in F&B. So it was, again, mostly market research about if somebody wants to enter a restaurant chain, say not a fine dining restaurant, but a casual dining restaurant. So how would you go about it? How would you build a financial model for such a cafe or something like that? So I got a F&B project. So I had a very diverse projects. I got a project in publishing where we kind of gauged if a publishing house wants to enter podcast, how does the industry look right now? So these are some of the cases I did, but I love the diversity there. And hence, I think for CA specifically, if you are a creative person, or if you are someone who enjoys a lot of challenges, who wants to do different industries every day, then I think consulting is the option for you. So diversity is what CA and consulting meant to me. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right. Like I mentioned that I read a lot of books. So this is a book by David Epstein. It's called Range: How Generalists Triumph Over Specialists. So it's all about how generalist people kind of will overpower specialists in the long run, things like that. No controversies, you should read the book. There was this quote in this book which went like, if we treated careers more like dating, nobody would settle so quickly. So I think I had decent enough exposure in audit and in strategy, and hence I decided that I need this diversity more in my life. And I dated those careers long enough to know that, hey, I'm going to break up with you and I want to start something new. So yeah, so I think just give it some time, just have first-hand experience, or else if you can't have first-hand, then maybe talk to someone who is already working there. That's the best strategy. And then make your decision. Don't go by the title ki investment banking is the most happening profile, or say even consulting for that matter, even industrial trading for that matter. So don't go by what people say. Experiences firsthand, or else maybe talk to people and take your decision. All right. So I think I've spoken a lot. We can move to the next slide and we can take questions now. So whatever questions you have, should I check the chat box, or else somebody wants to announce the questions?
I think the speakers will take it up. I think, Arpana, go ahead.
Cool.
Are we having a glitch? I think. Ria, can you go ahead with the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll be having a glitch. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one. What does a day in a life of a consultant look like? Is it as same as the YouTube videos, or is there something that we don't know about?
So I will not be able to answer this question really well now because my joining is in January, so I'm just chilling right now. But as per my experience in ABG, it is definitely strenuous. So it can get from 12. So I used to work 12 hours anyway in ABG as well. So it's a 9 to 9 job for sure. Then it can stretch to maybe 15 as well on, say, a weekday. It involves a lot of traveling. We had a decent amount of traveling in ABG as well, in visiting clients and stuff. So lots of traveling, lots of work, lots of brainstorming. And it's a very team oriented exercise. So you can't do it individually. So yeah, these are the major factors, I think. All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Bhumika. I would like to ask a question.
Yep.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, like, when comparing one company offer to another, what factors should the candidate consider before choosing the best one?
I think before accepting that offer, I would definitely look at the profile. Like, if the profile is different, then definitely it's a big comparison. In offer letters, are you asking for someone who has passed CA or any graduate? Like, who's the concerned person here? Is
Any
there
graduate
information?
who has offers right now? Yeah. Like
So in the very beginning of your career, I would say you should definitely go with a brand name. I will not give you all those philosophical answers that, you know, you will get everything, a profile will help you, blah, blah, blah. I will not say that. Brand matters a lot on your resume, period. It will help you a lot in getting into a good MBA college outside India, or else maybe a good role in, say, any of the big MBBs or any of the big investment banks. So whosoever is a good brand name, and if the profiles are same, then definitely a good brand name plus a good profile. If the profiles are different, maybe in the initial 1 year of your career, if you want to explore that profile specifically, go for it. But then only go for it if you have, say, plans for pursuing MBA later, you know. Then you can just do that profile, go for MBA, and then choose whatever company you want to work with. So that's my personal opinion, of course. So yeah.
right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Yes. I have 2-3 questions.
Go for it.
Yeah. Firstly, I want to ask the thing that you did your BCom or some degree from SRCC. So,
Yep.
so did that help you? Did that really help you? Because like what my mindset and what everyone mindset is, like what my mindset, what everyone like says, keep BCom and all, they don't have any value. CA is the prime thing. So I want to ask, did BCom help you from SRCC?
Definitely. Yeah. I'm not going to be a snob here and say SR is a big name, but SR is a big name. And all these consulting companies specifically hire in Delhi. So I don't know about Mumbai University. Delhi University, they only hire from SRCC and Hansraj Hindu, the top 3 colleges. Then they hire from IITs. So having, and I can say this from experience now because all my friends from SRCC got a shortlist. So I'm just going to be honest right there. The name of a good college definitely helps you a lot. Again, for CA, I wouldn't say that if you clear CA in your first attempt, then you will definitely get in. That's not the case, unless you have a very holistic profile or say the spikes that I've mentioned, right? But if you have a rank, then definitely it's a big yes, because a rank and a good holistic profile matters a lot. So ranks and spikes. Yeah.
Okay. Like I want to ask, like I'm from HR college, so you think that like if I do CA, so that will matter, or like my HR college ka degree, or it's like BCom?
So I will tell you the truth about CA is not a lot of people do regular college.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that will definitely give you an edge in any which case. I recommend everyone who does CA to do a regular college for sure, because that BCom from a regular college matters on your resume. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, because like I'm thinking to take a drop year for CUET to get
Okay.
into SRCC. So you think that's
Okay. No, if you are in HR, why do you want to shift? Like, it's not that big of a deal. Of course, it's good, but then see, if you are already, HR is a big name in Mumbai. I know for sure that it's a big name. So that's fine. Do your CA. Do a lot of maybe internships if you can. With your college, you can definitely do internships. So do that. Build a holistic profile is what I will say. Don't take a drop year, because I think you can get the similar exposure or experience with
yes, like
opportunities on LinkedIn. Yeah.
my parents are also CA, so they are telling कि
Okay.
BCom और का कोई value. It's not like
I
that. Only
think from
CA.
a regular college se to hai. I wouldn't deny that.
Okay. And I want to ask you like slightly different question. Like how do you form connection? Like I meet couple of people on LinkedIn and all, and so how do you think I can contact people? Because sometimes I meet people, so they are eagerly waiting for people like me to ask questions, and they are very helpful. So how do you think I can contact people? Is it through LinkedIn or is it through friends?
LinkedIn is definitely a good option. See, the first thing, and it applies for job applications as well, is to get a good reference. If you can probably connect through a friend of a friend, then it's the easier way to do it. Applies for job applications also. If you can't, LinkedIn is a good option. See, LinkedIn के साथ यही problem है कि you can't be too hopeful. You can't expect everyone to reply. When I started writing and connecting with people on LinkedIn, probably 1 or 2 people used to reply out of 20 or 50, because people don't have time. As simple as that. A good tip would be to ask your question right away. So people who say, hi, how are you doing, blah blah blah, and then I will say, hi, I'm good, and then the conversation will go on. It makes no sense. Neither I have the time, neither the other person has the time. Just shoot your question right away. Give your personal reference on why do you want to interact with that person. So say, I've been following your work in this and this. Specifically mention, because that kinds of holds the attention. Specifically mention that. Then do a pointers thing. And the pointer thing, the bullet thing will help you in your consulting interviews also. Always speak in points. So state your queries right away, short pointers, and then you'll be like, hopefully, like looking forward to your reply, things like that. Just that. And do this cold messaging thing to a lot of people. Just copy paste, because of course you can't be personalizing every line, just the first 2 lines, and then copy paste. If you are lucky, you will get a reply. If you are not, then just keep on messaging.
Okay. And any other thing like cold email or any other?
Cold email works, definitely. So I will tell you this from personal experience. Again, job applications mein abhi, when I was applying after I qualified, I was looking for a role in strategy, but consulting is the most similar role that I could get to strategy. So strategy mein, there are companies like Tata Group, there are companies like Accenture. Connected with a few people there, did not get a good response. Ek do se mila, but then the profile was something different. So out of 50 or say 100 messages that I did, I only got answers from say 5 people. So yeah, that's just that, but that's the only way to do it.
Okay.
I have another question. Just 1 second. This is from the chat box. There's this thing about CAs having an academic career, but you have managed to have an artistic side, and you've kept it going on consistently. Even today, you had a post about some painting that you drew that was really amazing. How do you manage to find the time? What is your time management secret?
So there's no secret, honestly. I will tell you from the very start. So shuru se shuru karte. In 7th standard, my mom was like, I won't. So my mom used to listen to all the answers that we had in school. And school mein it's ratta, that everybody knows, right? So you have certain questions, uska answer yaad karke, and then I used to speak it aloud to my mom, and that's how I used to learn all those answers. So in 7th standard, my mom is like, I will not teach you from now on, because she had to focus on my younger brother. And I was like, okay. And I had been good at studies by then. So then I was like, how do I make sure that I study occasionally from now on? And that's how I started with time management. So I build my to-do list every day. So initially it was just ye din mein ye chapter read karna hai. So it started from 7th standard and it's still going on. So I have been at it for a long while. I know it sounds very robotic and it sounds like all the self-help book wala gyan which is out there already. Ki to-do list banao, tracker banao, monthly goals update karo, blah, blah, blah. Everybody says that. I know. And I have also been at that place. But I also know that it works. So the timetable in my CA finals also was usually studying for 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours. But then if you think about it, you have 24 hours. I have this very bad habit that I used to only sleep for 6 to 7 hours, but I'm kind of getting good at it now. So 6 to 7 hours of sleep, 12 hours of study. That's just say 18 hours. So you still have 6 hours. Now it's your responsibility to make sure that you spend at least say 1 hour in your workout or say 1 hour in your creativity. I used to spend 2 hours just cooking. So that's just me, but you can do whatever you want. So I think I did this one exercise. It was on a website also if you want to check out. So what I did was एक दिन बैठ के you have to take out an Excel sheet. वो Excel sheet पे you have to make 30 minutes के slots. So if I wake up on say 6 a.m. 6 a.m. से 6:30 मैंने क्या किया? 6:30 to 7 क्या किया? So after probably half an hour, you keep updating that list. वो list में आपने जो भी update किया है, probably make a probably say link it to some or the other structure wala task. Sleeping, waking up, ये सब आपका miscellaneous task में जाएगा और necessary task में जाएगा. Then there will be necessary task, there will be studying, there would be your co-curricular, there would be your workout thing. So ऐसा 5-6 category बना के हर वो आधे घंटे को उसमें categorize कर दो. Then make a pie chart out of it. With that pie chart, you will come to know कि आप कितना time spend कर रहे हो अपने studying पे, कितना time workout पे, कितना time फालतू के activities में. So once I did that exercise, even though I was kind of okayish, I was not like wasting a lot of time. I realized that I was still wasting 2 hours doing nothing because of transition time. कि मैंने अपना class खत्म किया उसके बाद I'm just taking a break for 30 minutes where I could be done in 10 minutes. So things like that. So you have to be thoda robotic about it. But yeah, I think that's the only secret. I have no other secret.
Yeah, I have one more question. That I have an elder brother. He has completed CA Inter. He couldn't get a rank, and he has also completed 5 levels of actuarial science, and he is also giving CFA now.
Okay.
So like what do you think that this will help? Because like
where does he want to end up into? Is it actuarial?
No, he wants to become an entrepreneur, like a technology entrepreneur, like Zomato, Flipkart. So he wants to set up a company like this.
Why does he want to do actuarial? Like, I mean, he can just start.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, so I don't know about actuarial science because I've not done it. But for CFA, I can say this for sure. CFA only helps you if you have cleared all the 3 levels. If you just have CFA level 1 on your resume, it won't help. Honestly, it won't. Package में कोई difference नहीं आएगा unless you do CFA level 2. CFA level 3, if you do, definitely you will get all those advantages. Even if you charter in the market, that key, you are still CFA qualified. So there's not a lot of difference with people who have charter who don't. Okay? But only do CFA if you want a finance specific role like portfolio management, mutual funds, equity research, niche finance profile. यहाँ पे CFA will also not help you a lot in getting into consulting companies, which I will make it clear very honestly, because see, their role is a very generalist role. So financial modeling on the job you will learn anyway. So it's not like you are in a trading business और वहाँ पे तुमको CFA help करेगा. So consulting में it won't help. Only in things like risk reporting, credit rating, mutual funds, say in a bank. वहाँ पे CFA helps, but if his aim is not to get into niche finance, I don't think he should do CFA.
Okay. And and one last thing.
Hey Bhumika.
One last question.
Can we take your question in the end because others are also waiting?
Yeah. One last question. Like what I see myself is like I want to become an entrepreneur. Like I want to set up company. Basically technology only, technology space only, like Flipkart, Zomato and all. So like now I'm actually basically trying to talk to IITians and all. So like I'm also pursuing CA. So I'm actually a bit confused, like how should I enter into this field? Like, should I learn coding? Should I do something sort of that? Like, can
With CA, I don't think you can spend a lot of time doing other things. That's for sure. So if your aim in the end is to just do entrepreneurship, maybe drop CA. You will have to take a decision, because with C, if you want to clear CA also, even in the first attempt, not even a rank, but just the first attempt, even then you have to spend a lot of time doing these things. If you want to learn coding, if you have the time, even with CA, then probably go for it. Or else, I think with building entrepreneurship, which I am not good at delegating, but I will still say there's this book called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. So I think you should probably read that. It's a lot on delegating and how to build businesses, and it's basically about, if you want to build something up, how do you free your time and probably do it with someone who is specialized in doing it. So whatever you are connecting with people in IITs and everything, it's better to delegate such a task of building a tech startup, is what I would say. I hope you got your answer.
I think we have a question in the chat box. For somebody who is, this is from Dhwani Bhatt. From somebody who is doing CA, is there any additional courses that they should do along with it?
You can, only if you want to, only if you're not happy with a CA degree. Like, so I can't speak about courses like CS or CMA. So CS is a very niche course that I would say if you want to say enter into corporate lawyer or kind of a job like that. But I think CFA did help me a lot in understanding capital markets. So I did CFA only because of curiosity and nothing else, because I don't think IPCC ka FM was enough to understand all these nuances of finance. And I did learn a lot. I know a lot about derivatives and equity markets and everything. But in the end, I wasn't sure in college that I will want to do consulting. And hence I did not appear for consulting interviews in my college also. But I think CFA अगर मैंने नहीं भी किया होता तो भी it was okay to crack a consulting shortlist. So if you have a holistic profile, in any which case, these additional courses will give you an edge if you are applying for industrial training in a very niche finance role. But then in other cases, it just has to be holistic. Doesn't have to be a lot of things just molded together. Yep.
Okay, I guess Bhumika has a question as well.
I don't have a question. Bhumika Agarwal. Okay.
Bhumika Agarwal, I meant.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Bhumika.
Could somebody just pick the question from the chat box? I think there's an issue with the audio.
She's saying she can't unmute. Could you type it, Bhumika?
Okay, I think this is a question. She has participated in debates, content writing, and has multiple certificates. Is that good enough as a part of extra?
It's so for consulting specifically, it's okay. It's not the best. That is what I would say, because I've seen a lot of resumes and I know people have crazy outstanding things there. So what I told about spikes, right? These debates and case competition and extempores is what a lot of other people also do. So I also did debates and things like that in my school, but I removed all of that from my resume because I was like, I know it's too generic and I don't want to write that. So instead, if you have things like good internships with brand names, for sure, even if with not brand names, but you say work for a startup, worked in a role which was say founder's office, or else things like content writing will help, but maybe content writing for fintech startup, or something which is tangible enough. You can't be content writing for social media, because how will that, as an HR, how is that helping my company? It's just hashtags, right? So I don't want that. So think from an HR perspective and probably mold your resume to put your strengths on your profile, but then make it numeric. So if you have content writing wala in a good brand name, right? probably write how many impressions that you had through this content writing, how many sales conversions did you give, how much revenue did you increase for the company, things like that. So make it thoda quantitative. But yeah.
I think we have exceeded a lot of time, so I think we'll have to stop the Q&A for the day.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay.
There's Dharti ma'am. She would like to say a few words.
Okay, I think unmute option is disabled. Could anyone remember that?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I got the option to unmute. Yes, I would really like to thank Bhumika ma'am for joining us today.
Thank you.
To be very honest, I mean, I found the session very interactive and students really got to learn a lot from you, ma'am. So, I was also reading the messages on the chat and I realized we never really get so many messages on the chat box on normal sessions. So I was really happy to, ma'am, have you on board, and your insights really will help them ahead because this is an MCOM lot, ma'am. So post their examinations and their grads, they're all going to get into some job or the other. Most of them have already planned what they want to do. So I think these kind of insights, are not things that they usually get to hear from people. So, thank you so much for coming on board and, really just guiding them out with their questions and what they would like to do ahead. I